Hard sports all plays. 365, we making the plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. Behind the court, the diamond the lane. Variety topics living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace up the field, so tie the laces. Hard sports all plays. Network. Hard sports all plays. Network. We on top of our game. Hard sports all plays. Hard sports all plays.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the ASAP Network. We are here tonight on Thursday for ASAP Real Talk. I am here joined by the usual three others. We got Coach Cam, Chris Brown, and Freddie Henderson along with us today. Fellas, how we doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. I can't complain.
Hey, I'm doing great. Excited for another show. Let's get after it. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. I feel like we haven't been on here in a while. I mean, what, like 2-day break? Man, let's go.
Right.
Yeah, it's weird not having that Tuesday show, but man, I tell you what, it leads up to better topics, man. We got a lot to talk about. So
yes, sir.
Before we get right into it, let's hit up our sponsors of the evening. Coach Cam, I need to turn it over to you. Let's hear a little bit about Suzanne's Paparazzi.
Yes, Suzanne Paparazzi Jewelry and Accessories, home of the $5 jewelry. Hey, it's that time, man. You know, Christmas is coming up. It's 24/7 shopping available. Also, you can order on the website, www.paparazziaccessories.com. That's code 160920. Make sure you hit up Suzanne Paparazzi for your Christmas needs.
All right, going over to Chris. We have the big viewer of the month here at ASAP Network. Get yourself a free T-shirt. Let's hear about that.
Yes, for everybody out there supporting us, I just want to say thank you. Comment on our live video, like the live video, like the page, share the page. At the end of the month, we're going to tally everything up, and the person that has the most likes, the most comments, the most everything is going to be crowned the viewer of the month, and they're going to get their very own ASAP Network T-shirt.
And if you're a little bit hesitant being in the comments section, how could you get that T-shirt otherwise?
Well, still, thank you for the support. If you want to get a T-shirt, otherwise, you can message us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Search our $14.99 plus shipping and handling. Again, search our $14.99 plus shipping and handling. Message us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Get you a very nice, beautiful T-shirt.
Alrighty, and if you can't catch us on Facebook Live, you can't catch us in the live streams. We all know we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter, but where else can we find us, Chris?
Yes, you can find us on all major audio platforms. That's Anchor, that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, ASAP Sports, capital ASAP Sports. Again, you can find us on all major audio platforms. If you can't watch us live, make sure you catch us out on those audio platforms.
All right, Freddie, last one. Bring it home to tell us about our folks over there at Misty Meadows.
It's Oregon-made Misty Meadows and Jam and More. You can check them out at 48053 Highway, 101 South, Brandon, Oregon. And if you want to contact them, just call them at 541-347-2575.
All righty, folks, let's get right into the topics. We're going to jump a little bit different today. We typically jump right into NFL, but we're going to start off with some college football topics because of some interesting things that have been going on with college football here. They're wrapping it up. We're getting into conference championships. We're getting into bowl games. Let's talk about the Big Ten. Ohio State and Michigan, that game had gotten canceled, putting Ohio State only at 5 games, making them ineligible for the Big Ten championship. But now all of a sudden, the Big Ten wants to go back on everything, and they want to work the Ohio State Buckeyes into the championship game. Coach Cam, I'm going to go to you first. Let's get your opinion on this. Do you think Big Ten was wrong for this? What's your opinion on Ohio State getting a chance to be in the championship game?
Now, let me first, I know everybody that's been watching know I'm from Cincinnati. I'm from Ohio. So, everybody probably think I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm not. I don't root for Ohio State. However, they had to let them in, man. They had to let them play in the Big Ten title game. This is the team's. This is the conference best team, and it's been the best team for a while. And what does it look like to not have the best two teams match up for a conference title, regardless of how many games that were played? I understand it was only, you need 6. Hypothetically, if they lost to Michigan, they still would be there. You know what I mean? So regardless of that, I feel like you still have to put them in. This is a different circumstance. We're in a pandemic. And and things have to be adjusted. We'll talk more about later about college football playoffs as well, but things need to be adjusted to make sure that the right teams, and especially in these conference title games, are playing. And Ohio State, did what they could do, did the best they could do as far as what was presented in front of them. They couldn't help that games got canceled, or their COVID situation got fixed, and now Michigan's having issues. So you can't fault them for that. This is a team. This is the best team in the Big Ten. This is a team that's in the heart of the college football playoffs, and you got to allow them to play for the Big Ten title game. Anything else would have been honestly a travesty. And this is me not being an Ohio State fan at all, but I feel like you have to. You have to allow them to play in the Big Ten title game. I think they got it right in this instance because you have to allow the best team, from that division to play, and that would have been Ohio State. Even if they would have lost to Michigan, they still would have been the Big Ten representative in the title game. So you gotta let them play.
Chris Brown, I'll move to you. What are your thoughts on the Big Ten allowing Ohio State to be in this Big Ten title game?
I mean, Coach Cam said it the best. When you have the best team, they're going to move a little strings, change some things around so that best team can be represented. I mean, it wasn't their fault that the game got canceled. I know a lot of people are upset, especially ones that hate Ohio State, but you got to understand the business of college football, which we're going to get into a little bit later. They want the best team put forward. Ohio State is a powerhouse type of a team. Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten. So I understand people are upset, You're right. And I understand people are upset that Ohio State, are in there, especially the ones that don't like Ohio State, but you can understand the circumstances. So do I agree with it? I mean, that's neither here nor there. I'm like 50-50 on it. I understand Ohio State's that type team. They need to be in the playoffs. They need to have a chance to win things. But it's like, did other teams deserve it? And that's questions that, these teams are asking themselves, and everybody is, asking themselves as well.
Freddie, you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, just like Coach Cam said, we're living in the time of the COVID situation where, in sports leagues, they need to put up the best matchup each week out. You're talking about going to the championship game where, they're selling off views. You're not able to fill the stands up like you used to. You're not able to, sell, make your money in certain different ways. And, hey, you bring up the best matchup, you bring the best views, and, hey, you bring in revenue for college. And we all know the main thing for college is revenue.
I'm kind of with Chris right here. I'm kind of more 50-50 on the topic. I don't know where to feel on the matter because it's one of those to where, like, we're all aware that Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten. I mean, it's been a thing for years. I mean, Ohio State has run away with it. I mean, they've always had the more prestigious football program, but it's one of those to where, I mean, I get that it was set up, previously at 6 games, and it's not all Ohio State's fault that they missed these games. Obviously they missed the Michigan game because of Michigan COVID cases. There's games where that's their fault. There's games where it's not. So, I mean, it's hit or miss, but I get a little dicey whenever it comes to changing the rules for a certain team just to kind of favor a certain team or player. And whenever I look at that, it's kind of where I stand on it because, like, I like Ace's comment down there that talked about Indiana being close. I mean, they played Ohio State really close. Yes, Penix Jr. is out, so it's not the same Indiana team, but that backup quarterback's not half bad at all. I mean, he's not Penix Jr., but it's also not Penix Jr., so that's the problem. So it's one of those cases to where I'm really up in the air about it, but I get where the Big Ten's doing. Obviously, you want to see Ohio State play more, especially with the fact that they're currently sitting on the cusp of number 4 right now in the top 10. So if they're at number 4, and then you have a team such as Texas A&M play, and then they win, and then all of a sudden they have a way to jump up Ohio State in the standings, and so that kind of segues it into our next topic. We talk about the standings, and right now it's currently Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, and Ohio State sitting at the top 4 spots, with the teams looking in being Texas A&M, Florida, and the University of Cincinnati. Where do we stand on the college football playoff system? Do we think it's rigged? Do you think it's favored to show favoritism to the Power Five? Let's get your opinions. I went to Coach Cam first. Let's go to Chris. Chris, I want to get your opinions on that.
I mean, it's been tailored for the best teams to always get in there. It's been tailored for the best known, schools, the best known, college football teams always get in there. I know Coach Cam is going to talk about a certain team, so I'm not even going to bring them up. But they're one of the teams that deserve to be in there. I mean, it's a narrative that, oh my gosh, we just want to see the best teams play. The best teams always bring more money. Newsflash, why do you think people love March Madness? This is something Coach Cam said, and I got to agree on it. They love March Madness because of the upsets that happen on March Madness. Great games bring a revenue, but everybody loves to see Alabama lose to a team, like the University of Cincinnati. Or they love to see, Ohio State lose to a team like Iowa State. They love to see that. Regardless, it's going to be good football. I seen Ohio State get blown out in the playoffs. I seen Oklahoma get blown out in the playoffs. I seen Georgia not play the best. I seen Alabama not play the best. So let's not act like all the great teams always play the best against each other. It doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense. It needs to be extended for these other teams to be able to get into the playoffs. Because if a team goes undefeated, what's your justification that they didn't get it? Oh, because they didn't play the best competition? Newsflash, it's not easy to go undefeated. I've seen teams play bad competition and still lose games. At the end of the day, you got to suit up and go out there and beat the man in front of you. If these teams are having undefeated seasons, they deserve to be in the playoffs. I've been saying that for years, and it's only getting worse and worse as the years goes on. So, I'm not going to go on a mini rant because I want to, but the college football system is bad. College football playoff system is bad. It needs to be changed. It needs to be fixed for these schools and organizations that they get into the playoffs, more opportunities will come to them. These same schools don't always deserve it. I mean, look what, let a new team get in there and get in the mix. You don't know what can happen. New teams deserve to be in the mix. If you're not going to let them be in the mix, at least expand the playoffs. So, hey, if they do get blown out to like Alabama or Ohio State, at least you gave them an opportunity to do so. Don't take the opportunity away from these young kids. That's my problem with it.
So if you were to fix it and I heard you say expansion, how many teams would you expand it to?
I mean, at least eight. At least eight.
Okay.
Because there are 8 good college football teams out right now. So I'm doing at least 8. I was thinking about 6, but nah, I'm liking 8 at least.
All right. Coach Cam, just like me, your school's in the American, so we don't know too much about being in the top numbers whenever it comes to rankings, that's for sure. So let's get your opinions on the college football playoff rankings. Let's hear what you have to say.
Coach Cam, do you want the big screen?
You can give me the big screen on this one.
Because I didn't talk about a team, and I don't want you to address it.
Now, with the college football playoffs, and I talked about this on my podcast yesterday, the system is broken. The system is broken, and it came out, and they basically showed their hand and showed that it was broken on the college football playoff ranking Tuesday night. How do you have an 8-2 football team ranked 7th above an 8-0 football team? It doesn't make any sense. Now, I understand Iowa State is a solid football team. They're not a bad football team. But obviously, they're not better than the University of Cincinnati. This is a team that lost to Louisiana Lafayette week 1 at home by 2 or 3 scores. So how do they jump? That's my thing. Imagine if the University of Cincinnati lost to Louisiana Lafayette at home by 3 scores. We wouldn't be ranked in the top 15 or 20. The thing about the system is, and I see it up here because it has a little explicit, so we ain't gonna put it up here. Talk about some UC don't deserve it. Flag, we do deserve it. We do deserve to be in the mentions and in the rankings. We definitely do deserve to be there. And with this COVID situation, this will be a great year to expand it to 8 teams. This will be a perfect year to expand it to 8 teams. And I'm tired of seeing it say, and you say they'll get smoked by everybody in there. Newsflash: last year, did Oklahoma not get smoked by LSU by 35 points? The score was 63-28 for crying out loud. That's getting smoked. Ohio State versus Clemson, 31-0, getting smoked. These semifinal games have been terrible, to be honest with you. Those 1-4 games, those 2-3 games, they have been terrible over the course of years. I remember when Washington got absolutely drilled. Notre Dame get in, absolutely drilled. I'm saying, come on, man. At some point in time, you have to be fair to every single team. Every single team. And the fact that, and this is my issue, and then you can take me off the big screen. It's funny how two teams could be ranked 24th, but one has a different feel to it. So Texas A&M beat the 24th ranked Auburn. That's a good win. We beat a 16th ranked SMU team before we made them drop. And all of a sudden, oh, it's just SMU. That win's okay. No, they were the 16th ranked team in the country at the time when we beat them, and we beat them by 30. Beat them by darn near 30. Okay, and then we beat a UCF team, which ESPN had a 57% chance of beating us. So you had them as heavy favorites. We beat them, and you still don't move us up. That's my problem. SEC teams can be lower level SEC teams, and it's fine. It's okay. That's a good win. But if UC beats a 25th ranked Memphis or 24th ranked Tulsa, it's just an okay win. No, 24th rank is a 24th rank. A ranked win is a ranked win, no matter who it's against. I'm just ready for it just to beat Tulsa. Let's move on. Whatever they give us, you want to give us a New Year's 6-day bowl, that's fine. And whoever we line up with, I want us to tear their head off, because that's what has to happen. We have to tear their head off in this New Year's 6-day bowl, so in the future they can be like, hey, UC or somebody from this conference can actually play. It sucks that it's like that, but we're going to have to go in there in the New Year's 6-day bowl and prove ourselves, and that's what sucks about the system. And it's broken. The NCAA is the most crooked organization in the world.
Coach Game, you hit on something. Will, I just want to speak on this. They changed the narrative depending on which team is playing. It just hold all teams. It will, if you're going to say that, I apologize, but that's just something that just sticks. Like, hold all the teams accountable the same way. If Alabama beats on bum teams and the University of Cincinnati is being on bum teams and they get some rank wins, give them the credit they deserve. Like, who are you to say, oh, well, this team beat this, but they beat? No. Let the teams line up against each other and let them play ball. If University of Cincinnati is undefeated and they got teams 8 and 2 above them, tell me that makes sense. And they beating better teams. It just has to change. It's been bad, and it's really only getting worse because we're seeing more programs get better and better and better, and we're seeing how crooked the system is. That the same 6 teams is only getting those 4 spots. It's always the same 6 to 7 teams. When you got teams that's 8-0 this year, teams that's 8-1 this year, doing their thing. Like I miss when college football used to be so many different teams to talk about. Everybody wanted to talk about the University of Miami. They want to talk about Texas, all these other teams. But now it's like, because of college playoffs, there's no more diversity in college football. And that's the part that's really irritating.
And one more thing I'm sorry, Will. One more.
No, you're good.
And one more. And you know what? And when the expansion happened, the 4 teams, everybody was excited. I wasn't. Because I knew you will see possibly 3 teams, the same 3 teams out of 4 there every year. 60% of the spots that have taken up since this expansion has happened has been taken by Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State. And Oklahoma. Those are 3 teams. 3 teams that we keep seeing over and over. And I know what the college football playoff committee is doing. They put Iowa State 7th because if Oklahoma beats them, they're going to shoot.
Boom, they're going to shoot right up the ladder.
And they got 2 losses. It's a mess.
It's a crooked business.
It makes me not even want to watch college football. Seriously.
Trust me, Cam.
I'm
right there with you, just because, like I told you, we're both from the American. I'm being a USF alum. I'm a big South Florida guy, and we were ranked just a couple of years ago. We had just scooted into the top 25 by beating Navy whenever they were 25. We blew the doors off of them when we were at home in the rain. They were a triple option team. We shut them down, and all of a sudden we made the rank position. But I want to talk about UCF for a little bit, because this is a team that won 25 straight games and never saw above number 8. 25 straight games. They went 2 years without a loss. I mean, they did not lose, and they beat programs such as Stanford. They beat programs such as Auburn in a New Year's 6. And not only just beat Auburn, they beat Auburn pretty good too. They played them very well. This is a team, this is embarrassing whenever it comes down to it as a college football fan, because you need to let the best teams in. You can't tell me before last week, a BYU team that's beating teams on average by 34 points doesn't deserve to be higher than 13. I mean, you mean to tell me that there are 12 other teams performing better than these guys? I don't care who you're playing. You are blowing doors off of these guys. I mean, it's not even close. And you mentioned Oklahoma, you mentioned Alabama, you mentioned Clemson as well. I mean, I'm a Notre Dame fan outside of South Florida, but even my Fighting Irish, man, whenever we go to the postseason, we go to the playoffs, we get our doors blown off too. It doesn't matter who we play. We get smacked every single year. Like, we don't even play close. And so it's one of those to where, why wouldn't you just let somebody else get in there? Let something happen. Who cares if they get the doors blown off of them? At least it'll shut us up for a little bit, It's one of those to where you can't tell me, and the Power Six, or the Power Five, I should say. I always say Power Six being an American, but Power Five is such a crazy bias, and I'm glad you hit on that, Cam, because whenever a Power Five team loses, you'll never see them fall out unless they're in the bottom five. If you see a Power Five team lose and they're at 15, they're not going lower than like 22. But I tell you what, if a group of 5 team loses and they are ranked, if your Bearcats were to lose at some point this season, you would drop out. You wouldn't even sniff the rankings again. I mean, you wouldn't get a vote all season, and it's embarrassing. I mean, tell me how certain teams like a 3-loss North Carolina team, a 3-loss Texas team, a 3-loss Oklahoma State, a 3-loss North Carolina State. How are these teams in here whenever there's certain teams in group of 5 that are just undefeated still? I mean, you've got Marshall, who needs to be higher. Coastal Carolina is still playing great. BYU just got their first loss against a ranked team. Then they need to be higher. It's embarrassing. It really is. But man, I tell you what, we get fired up a little bit. So let's go to the next stage. Let's go from college football. Let's jump into the NFL. While we're still hot, we might as well go and hit the hot takes. So Freddie, I'm going to go to you first. I need an NFL hot take. Let's hear it.
Ladies and gentlemen, a few weeks back when Dak Prescott got hurt, I was afraid. I said, man, this dude has blown out his money. This dude's not going to get the big payday. But ladies and gentlemen, I was wrong. This dude's value has increased rather than decreased. Jerry Jones came on the radio a few days ago talking about he wished Dak Prescott would have slide and, did all this kind of, made all these crazy comments and stuff like that. Jerry Jones, you need to be quiet, dude. You're the one that decided to pay everybody else on your team. You're the one that decided to pay Ezekiel Elliott, Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence, Amari Cooper before the quarterback. But you know what? This offseason, you're going to franchise tag him for $38 million. And guess what? That's going to hold you against your cap. That's going to hold you from getting key players. But guess what? You still don't want to commit to the guy. The guy's been nothing but a leader. The dude don't miss games. The dude is he actually had a 5,000-yard season. The dude don't turn the ball over much. The dude is a good quarterback. But you still don't play. You still don't pay him. So you know what? His money has gone up from a year ago. Why? Because if you look at a Colts team, if you look at a New Orleans Saints team, if you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if you look at the Washington football team, you mean to tell me them guys would not be willing to bring a Dakota Prescott in there to run an offense? Yes, I know you have Tom Brady in Tampa Bay, but guess what? Maybe in a year or two you might move on from Tom Brady, and you still have the weapons that you have, you still have the defense you still have, and you need a quarterback to come take Tom Brady's place. You talking about a New Orleans, whose Drew Brees might be out the way. Wouldn't you want him over Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston? I would. And if you're talking about the Indiana's Colts team where you have your quarterback, but guess what? He's older as well. Would you not take him over them as well? And Washington football team, hey, you have that elite defense, but you need a quarterback. Would you not be willing to pay Dak Prescott? So Jerry Jones, I don't know what the problem is, but you need to pay the dude. You need to pay him right when it's end of the season. I mean, unless you're going to have a DeFucci, however you say his name, throwing your wide receiver the ball next year.
All right. We'll go over to Chris. Chris, I want a hot take on the NFL.
Okay, so my hot take is that this Sunday, we're going to see, two teams go at it at 4 o'clock. Two, very different football teams. I'm talking about my Philadelphia Eagles, and I'm talking about the New Orleans Saints. 425. My hot take is that Mr. Jalen Hurts, Mr. Oklahoma quarterback, he will have a good game. And he will lead us to a victory. And here's why. Everybody, like people forget I'm an Eagles fan first, but I'm going to defend my quarterback when he gets slandered. I mean, anybody's going to do that. If Jalen Hurts is going to come in and play good, that's what I want to see. And now Doug Peterson is talking about, which I have an issue with. Now you want to talk about changing the game plan, which we should have been doing all year. Now you want to talk about establishing a run, which you should have been doing all year. You want to talk about these things that if we did all year, our record will be flipped. So I fully believe in a new game plan, which is establish the run, make passes easier. That's how we won a Super Bowl. That's how we made it to the playoffs the past couple of years. That is the key to success for the last Philadelphia quarterbacks that came in and flourished. If you do that with Jalen Hurts, who I will admit is a better runner than Carson Wentz. I don't know about better thrower. I have to see it more, but I know he's a better runner than Carson Wentz. I'm pretty confident he can make some simple throws. In our defense, I'm never worried about our defense. Our defense is on the field so much. Our defense is getting put in so many terrible positions that bad things happen. You look at the Green Bay Packers, man. I mean, it was up until a close game. It's always with the Eagles. It's always that one run. It was the one run with Nick Chubb. It was the one run this week when Aaron Jones had that 77-yard touchdown. You take that away, they had less than 80 yards on the ground and a lot of carries. I'm not worried about our defense. Okay. Especially with a team where Taysom Hill that's looking to run, and Mr. Slant King and Michael Thomas can do that all game. I'm fine with that. Jalen Hurts, and if Doug Peterson decides to change up the game plan, Jalen Hurts will lead us to a victory, and I don't know where we're going to go from there, but take it 1 week at a time. So that's my hot take. Jalen Hurts is going to come in and lead the Philadelphia Eagles to a surprising W.
That's a hot take. I tell you what, we're going to move on to Coach Cam. You're going to have to follow that up. Give me a hot take for the NFL.
Hey, you know what? What was crazy is I was going to go with that one. I was actually going to go with Jalen Hurts beating the Saints this week, but I got to back up. I got to back up one here.
Okay.
Hot take for me. This is, and and we'll touch into it a little bit more. So I'm not going to get deep into this hot take. But this is to be the last year you're going to see Cam Newton starting. And you might see him fade to black and retire just because Cam is a prideful guy. And I don't see Cam signing a contract to be a backup. He still sees himself as a starter in this league no matter what. And what I'm just seeing all throughout the course of the year, yes, Cam right now to me is almost like a wildcat quarterback who's good in the red zone. I mean, outside of that, what is he? I mean, I understand his weapons are not as great, but come on, man. Like some of these throws I'm seeing and some of the decision making I'm just seeing from Cam Newton as, not a starting quarterback material. And like I said, I know we'll get into it later, so I'm not going to get into it too deep. But I don't see Cam Newton being a starter in this league in the future, and I think it's about it for Cam Newton.
Man, that's so sad to hear. I'm not saying you have a bad hot take. It's just sad to hear that Cam Newton it might not be starter level in NFL, man.
It's definitely a career that's been shortened too soon, and obviously it's one of those where you even watch him throw, and it's not the same. I mean, ever since that shoulder surgery, obviously a very intense injury. But while we're on quarterbacks, let me get to my hot take. We're getting near the end of the season. After the Super Bowl, everybody's going to need to be making decisions. Everybody's going to be making plays, whatever the case may be. I think in this year's 2021 NFL Draft, we are going to tie the record with 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. I think a lot of teams have question marks whenever it comes to quarterbacks. Obviously, we know the first 2 are going to be gone right off the board real quick. You already know Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields aren't going to
quarterback. Justin Fields. Sorry, just had to throw that out there.
I'm sure we'll get to that closer to draft time. But
we will.
But I tell you what, obviously those 2 aren't going to make it past pick 2. Then you have other teams such as the 49ers who could definitely use a quarterback. You have teams such as the Cowboys who, if they don't get Dak, are in desperate need of a quarterback. You have teams like Chicago who needs a quarterback. And there's a lot of serviceable quarterbacks that could be seen to go in the first round. Right now, currently, there's already 5 projected to go in the first round whenever it comes to Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Trask, and Wilson out of BYU. I think someone's going to take the chance on Mac Jones as well, and they're going to reach for him a little bit early, maybe towards the tail end of that first round. And for the first time since, I want to say, 1983, we are going to see 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round of the NFL draft. But that wraps up the hot take, so let's jump right into today's game. Let's talk about this game real quick. The Rams taking on the Patriots in L.A., and currently I want to say it's sitting at halftime with the Rams up 17-3. We talked a little bit about Cam Newton with Coach Cam's hot take. So, Coach Cam, I'm going to turn it to you first. What are you seeing from this game?
Cam, you look at the stats, he's not playing horrible, but he has that pick six, you're giving teams 7 points, that's hard to recover from when you're throwing pick sixes. I look at his stats, he's 9 for 13, fairly accurate this game, but they're at the end of the day, they're not scoring any points. They're not scoring any points. But what I do see from the Patriots in general is just a lack of weapons. Don't get me wrong, Bill Belichick is a great coach. But at some point, man, you can't just rely on your X's and O's. Like I said on this show before, and I said on my podcast before, as a coach and being a coach myself, you can have all the X's and O's in the world. But if I have the better players, I'm going to beat you 8 out of 10 times, probably. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. And they don't have the horses. They don't have the horses at all. And that's what I'm seeing from the New England Patriots. I still see Bill Belichick as a great coach, and the fact that they're 6-6 is amazing. But this team is just not very good. And looking at this game, and and the Rams are doing what they're supposed to do. Defensively. They're running the football relatively well. I know Will, your boy Jared Goff, he's struggling really this game. He's not playing well at all.
Yeah,
but they're running the ball well, man, and the Rams doing what they're supposed to do. But the Patriots just need some horses, and they need some playmakers. They don't have any playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. That's what I see from this game.
Freddie, I'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts going in that you're getting from this Patriots-Rams game?
Man, Coach Cam is, on his hot take, he might be right. If you look at Cam Newton, I look at him today that, he don't look really this season. He don't look that impressive, and yes, you can blame it on, lack of receivers. You can blame it on the offensive line. You can blame it on all that. But at the end of the day, you still have to go out there and get it done at the end of the day. And, when we've seen Cam Newton in the past get it done, and he's not able to do it anymore. And it might be because of the shoulder surgeries. We don't know. But you look at this game, you can see the Rams defenses get it all into Cam Newton's face. You can see every time he gets the ball, Aaron Donald is making his presence in this game. No matter if he's not right there on the play, he has something to do with the play. And then this running game is just, it's a running game today. So, and then the Rams are just taking care of business. They're not falling up to the less opponent, and they're handling their business.
Chris, I'll turn it over to you. Any additional things to add from this game?
Yeah, a lot of additional things to add. I understand, when you get paid this much, that narrative really has to be cutting down a little bit. When you have no receivers that can make plays, when you don't have the best offensive line, when you're going against a great defense, I'm sorry, the quarterback is not going to be able to win everything. Football, there's 11 guys on offense. 11 guys need to be held accountable. When you don't have the best 11, we don't even have, 3 of the best 11 out there, it's going to be a problem. Cam Newton has no weapons. So it's like, I understand the notion where, he has to outperform, but at some point in time, look what he's dealing with. This is worse is what Tom Brady was dealing with, because at least he had Julian Edelman. At least he had consistent receivers around him the entire year. Where's Julian Edelman at tonight? So Cam Newton understands to play better, but look at everything that is built around him. Hot take. And I'm not – matter of fact, I'll save it for Monday. A hot take just came to my mind right here. Cam Newton in a better system with offensive weapons, he could be in a system that's predominantly running. He could do everything Lamar Jackson is doing right now. But I think Cam Newton he's more of a veteran. You don't think so?
I don't know, man. That arm is shot, man.
It is shot, and it hurts that he played through the injuries. It's shot.
Yeah.
But I think you give this man some tight ends. That's what I'm like. You give him tight ends where he has to throw. He can be in a system like that. I don't think with a team that doesn't have the best receivers around them, not the best game plan around him. Like Bill Belichick, maybe back in the day you could beat any team with X and O's, but it's a different type of athlete in these days. It's a different type of NFL players nowadays. You feel what I'm saying? These is beasts. These is athletes that's being able to do anything on the field. You cannot win with X and O's. You need players right now. The New England Patriots simply don't have the players, and Cam Newton is put in a terrible, terrible situation. Brandon, Cam Newton in Minnesota over Kirk. I don't know. I mean, a team can't forget it. I was saying Broncos. I want Cam Newton with a great defense and some weapons and a good running game. To me, the Broncos, I'm killing all my hot takes for weeks to come. The Broncos, if you get them a real quarterback and they're healthy, make a couple more additions, they're competing. Everybody loves what the Raiders is doing this year. I think the Broncos have a far better defense, but got hurt, lacked injuries. I think they have far better weapons, but got messed up to the injuries, and they have two running backs that can account for what Josh Jacobs is doing. I Cam Newton to the Broncos, and I love it. And last thing I'm going to say, I see your thank you for watching on YouTube. How would Justin Fields do in the league? This is my opinion on Justin Fields. I'll keep it short and simple. He plays like Russell Wilson, built like Cam Newton. Think about that and think about how he'll do in the
league. My takes from this game kind of lean more towards the Rams. And I actually, if you could pull up this comment from Deshaun Flagg saying that the Rams could get a good quarterback and they'd be the most complete team in the NFL. It's one of these teams where I'm looking at. And shout out Coach Cam. We were talking about the NFC West standings. I could be wrong, but I know for a fact Coach Cam took them to be their divisional winner. And you may have been the only one to take the Rams as a division winner.
The only one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. I was going to say, I know that I was speculating a little bit, but obviously, I have a prejudice against Goff. But obviously, the defense. Everybody knows what the Rams' defense is, and I mean, one of the most complete secondaries, one of the best front sevens. Not a bad offensive lines by any means. Cam Akers has been balling. They've got a great receiving core. It really is Jared Goff. That's just kind of flip flopping. It really is. Like, I don't want to say that my hatred is, it's fake. I mean, he is. He's literally the thing keeping the Rams from being like great to elite. I mean, it really is. Like, the Rams are a great team. They really are. But are they in that upper echelon? Are they in the S tier, as you say, of great football teams? And a lot of people say no. And it's just one of those because of the flip-floppy game. But I tell you what, if you have seen the way that that Cam Akers is running all over this defense in New England, I mean, he in the first half, I think he was averaging 9.5, 10 yards a carry. I mean, you want to talk about excellent. It's been absolutely phenomenal. You want to talk about a guy who needs to make something happen. If Goff can finally put it all together, the Rams are so dangerous. I mean, they are absolutely dangerous. But, I have
a question for everybody here. So we talking about the Rams, right? McVay has a great system. We have good players around them. The Rams with a great quarterback would be 10 times better. Do y'all feel that way about the San Francisco 49ers? With the upgraded quarterback? Because to me,
absolutely. They beat Kansas City with a better quarterback.
Thank you. We're not going to dive into this topic. We will talk about this more about Monday. But to me, those are the same type of quarterbacks. They won't lose you the game all the time, but they don't have the ability to win you certain games that quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes, that Aaron Rodgers, that Russell Wilson can do. And I think, listen, tune in to Real Talk on Monday because I don't want to take too long on this topic, but this is a conversation that can go, a long time. So, Will, floor is yours, my friend.
I'll make one last comment on that before we switch topics. I've always said that if you look into the definition of game manager, you will find a picture of Jimmy Garoppolo holding a picture of Kirk Cousins. I mean, it is the two most game manager quarterbacks, and you can also see the word placeholder. It really is. I mean, it's one of those to where once they figure it out, that team could be electric, and it's going to be amazing. So let's move on. Let's go to the Ravens. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. I heard Lamar Jackson's name a little bit being compared to Cam Newton. So let's talk about them. Do you think the Ravens still have a chance to make the playoffs? Do you think the Ravens are still going to make it? I'm going to start with Freddie on this one. Where do you see the Ravens? Are they in or are they on the outside looking in?
They still have a chance. It's going to be hard. They're going to have to win all the way out because, you're talking about, the Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is already in there, okay? Then, you're talking about Cleveland. Cleveland's on the roll. As quiet as it's kept, Cleveland could be, like we said before, Cleveland could be the best team in the division just because of the opponents that they have faced this season. But the Browns, they play. The Ravens play the Browns on Monday night. If they handle the business there, you kind of put yourself in position to make a comeback. And then you have to beat the Jaguars, of course. You have to beat the Giants, but hey, it can go both ways because you're talking about two good defense. That game can go both. That's not a gimme game for the Ravens. 100% sure. Then the Bengals without Joe Burrow, they should handle their business. 100% sure. So yes, they have the Monday is the must win. If they do not win Monday, their season's over. If they win Monday, then they can walk into the playoffs.
Chris, we'll move it to you. What are your thoughts on the Ravens right now?
I mean, this is the question, right? Do you believe in the Ravens more than you believe in the Raiders? Do you believe in the Ravens more than you believe in the Colts? Do you believe in the Ravens more than you believe in the Dolphins? That's really the question that has to be asked because those are the 6 or 7 seeds. And my question is, I believe in that defense, right? I think that they're really, when they play at their best, they're a very good defense. But they're also inconsistent, and Lamar Jackson, everybody has their troubles about them. I think they have a possibility to get into the playoffs, right? But like I said, can they beat out Miami, who's 8-4 right now? Can they beat out the Colts right now, who's 8-4? The Raiders are 7-5. They play teams like the Dolphins. So to me, it's really between the Ravens up to the Dolphins at that 6, 7, 8, 9 seed. Can the Ravens sneak in there? I do think they can sneak in there. Every game for them is a must win. And when you're out of it, you got to bank on some teams losing. So then you got to ask yourself which one of these teams are going to lose. Are the Dolphins going to be able to lose to the Raiders? Because that's what you're going to need. You're going to need the Raiders to lose some. So right now, if I'm the Ravens, we cannot focus on everybody else. We have to focus on in and out this season. 4-0, and it's going to be crazy, right? It's going to be crazy if we got teams that's 11-5 and not in the playoffs. Think about that. Teams that are 10-6 and not making it into the playoffs. Like, those are good seasons, but I think we're seeing this, the NFL is getting better and better. So to answer the question, I think the Ravens do have a chance to get in the playoffs, but it's all on them. No excuses. They can't worry about anybody else. They have to go. You have to line up opponents in front of them and beat them. I don't think they have the toughest schedule compared to these other guys. I think they can do it.
You had mentioned that the Baltimore Ravens have to look at, doing it with themselves. Mm-hmm. And I do want to bring up that comment from Madison. She'd love to see the Dolphins go, but they have a tough schedule. They have a gauntlet. I mean, they have a gauntlet. They have to face, Kansas City. I think they have to play Buffalo again. It's one of those, and I know they have that Raiders game. But, they're facing teams. I think all of them are almost guaranteed in the postseason.
I'll tell you the games right now. They have the Chiefs, Patriots, Raiders, and Bills.
That's tough.
So, you got – we just talked about the Patriots, but that's still a divisional game. And the Patriots won the first matchup. So, it's like they can easily lose all 4, just like they can easily win a couple. That's why I said it. The Ravens can't worry about anybody else. To me, they don't have the easiest, but they have a schedule that can easily go 4-0.
100%. Coach Cam, we'll turn it over to you. What are your thoughts on the Ravens right now?
The Ravens could make the playoffs just because, I predicted the Dolphins to lose the rest of their 4. I predicted them to lose the rest of their 4 games just because I'm sorry. I understand the 7 interceptions, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. I get that. But I watched them Sunday. I watched them against my lowly Bengals, and he just didn't wow me. He didn't wow me at all. Like I said before, like if we have Joe Burrow out there on that field, we beat the Dolphins. And I think it's relatively an easy game. You're talking about where the Bengals had 25 second half yards, 25, and the score ends up 19-7. How? We're constantly giving you the ball back. They should have ran that score up about 31-7 and blew us out. Tua is. I don't think he's ready. I think honestly he's holding that team back. And if Fitzpatrick was the starter, I probably would have more faith in the Dolphins. But with that being said, I have the Ravens getting in over the Dolphins because they're going to ride Tua out. And I think, once he started to face these defenses like the Chiefs, I'm interested in seeing how he's going to perform where he has to score every possession because the Chiefs going to score every possession. There's only going to be a handful of possessions, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 where they don't score. So I'm anxious to see if Tua can keep up, and also I'm anxious to see can he play against a Bills defense? Can he play against some of these defenses that he's about to go up against? And how Belichick treat rookie quarterbacks. You see what he did to Justin Herbert. Last last week, 45-0. So Bill Belichick don't lose to rookie quarterback. So it's gonna be interesting to see. Well, but with my prediction of them losing on Monday, losing the rest of their 4 games, I have the Ravens making it. But don't get me wrong, I'm not high on the Ravens right now either. I'm not liking the way they're really playing football overall. But I do think they sneak in as the 7th.
Yeah, I just trust Baltimore more. Whenever I'm looking at it, right now Tua has not thrown enough pass attempts to qualify for statistics and everything. But right now, if he were, he's sitting at 6.6 yards an attempt, which would rank 28th in the NFL. That's abysmal, especially because Miami. If you don't know this Miami roster, they don't have bad weapons. I mean, they have Mike Gesicki, who's in the upper. Yeah, he's not he's not Kittle, he's not Kelsey, but he's up there in the upper parts of tight ends. Devontae Parker's an underrated weapon. Names like Preston Williams is an underrated weapon. I mean, the Miami has the pieces. They have what's going on. It's just the quarterback. The quarterback play. It really is. And so whenever it comes down to it, Miami is facing a gauntlet. Baltimore has an easier schedule for a playoff team. But here's the thing I think that Baltimore needs to do. They need to quit shoving Mark Ingram down everybody's throat, because J.K. Dobbins is averaging 5.5 a carry while Ingram's only averaging 4. I mean, you want to talk about this running game. I mean, yes, I understand that it's a multiple option set. You can go to anybody. You can go to Dobbins. You can go to Ingram. You can take it with Lamar. But this is abysmal. I mean, you want to talk about a superior running back, and clearly a superior running back. J.K. Dobbins, don't get me wrong, Mark Ingram could get his thing done. He could go be a starting running back on any other team. But J.K. Dobbins is he's just superior. I mean, it's one of those you have to go with the hot hand, and it's not even the hot hand, because over the season we've seen that J.K. Dobbins is the better running back. And if you want to start figuring something out, you need to get your best players on the field. Quit trying to put in Mark Ingram just because of the money wrapped up with him, or just because he's been there with the team for a long time. You're at a point where you need to win games, because if you go from 14-2 to not making the postseason, there's a lot of question marks that need to be answered. And Harbaugh, they're going to be looking at you first. I mean, it's going to be one of those things where they really are going to look at him first. So they need to figure something out in Baltimore, but I still think they have what it takes to get it done. But we'll see what comes of it here in a couple weeks. But right now, let's stick with Week 14. Let's talk about the games that are coming up. Let's talk about what you guys think is going to be the best game going into Week 14. Coach Cam, I went with you last on the last one, so I'll start with you on this one. What is your favorite game that you're looking forward to on Week 14?
I'm looking forward to, there's a lot of good games. There's several good games on, but I'm looking forward to the Monday night matchup. I'm looking forward to the Browns, and then we're gonna stick with it, Browns and Ravens. I'm looking forward to that game because I feel like it was huge that the Cleveland Browns beat the Tennessee Titans last week. I want to know if the Cleveland Browns can do it. Can you do it multiple weeks? Are they riding so high off that Titans win that they come out and lay an egg on Monday night? That's what I want to see, and I want to see Baker Mayfield perform against one of the arguably the top 2.
I say top 5.
I'm just so far as division AFC North goes.
Okay.
You know who the staples are in that division. Mm-hmm. Mostly year in and year out. It's the Steelers, it's the Ravens, and you have to beat them consistently to get where you want to go. And even though back in the past when we Marvin Lewis days, we used to beat up on the Ravens. That helped us. You know what I mean? There was a year where we went 6-0 in division. You have to win your divisional games, especially against those 2 opponents. And I want to see Baker Mayfield perform well against the Ravens. Those 2 teams take away what you do best first. They always. So I'm not gonna say they're not gonna be able to run the ball, because they've been able to run the ball against everybody, but it's not gonna be as efficient.
It wasn't efficient on us. 30, other than one.
They really played.
39 carries, 70 yards.
Yeah. Eagles play well against them, and they're good. But the thing is, the Browns are gonna, they're gonna, like you said, they still ran it 39 times, so they're gonna run the football. However, Baker Mayfield has to make throws off of that play action. I want to see him do it. Can he do it? That's going to be the key, and I'm anxious to see can he do it against the Ravens, because this is a big game for both teams. If the Browns win this, you can pretty much pencil them in the playoffs, and if the Ravens lose this, you kind of looking like, you got some work to do. So this is an interesting game for playoff implications as well.
All right, Chris, I'll turn it over to you. What game are you looking forward to in Week 14?
Obviously I could be a homer for a number of reasons, but I'm not going to do that, even though I really, really want to. But, the game I'm really honestly looking forward to seeing is the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. This is the team in Pittsburgh that just took their first loss last week, right? But we all have concerns about Pittsburgh, and we all on this show sat up here and said Pittsburgh has to do a number of things and beat a number of teams for us to look at them as, okay, they could be a favorite, and Buffalo is one of those teams. Now, Buffalo is not a team that runs the ball, but, they're also a team that can't stop the run. I don't think either teams are going to be able to run, because both these teams don't run, can't run, and they can both, run is not going to be a part of this. I want to see defense versus defense. I want to see quarterback versus quarterback. I want to see if the Steelers have what it takes to be a top team, a team that, teams the Kansas City Chiefs, who knows how they're going to play against them in the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills, no, they're not their favorite, but they're a team that can beat anybody. So I just want to see, are the Pittsburgh Steelers legit? And on the flip side, if the Buffalo Bills can get this victory, that just helps out their case to say, okay, I'm a real contender in this AFC. Y'all going to have to come see us. So I want to see which team is the better team. But shout out to my Eagles and the Saints. I know, Jalen Hurts is going to do what it takes to get that W. You already know what's going to happen.
Freddie, I'll turn it over to you. What are you looking forward to whenever it comes to Week 14?
Oh, Chris, you're just so funny. All right, the game I'm looking to see, yes, is my New York Giants going against the Arizona Cardinals. We are on a playoff run, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to see what can Joe Judge draw in his bag today. This dude, you're talking about a coach that is
That's my favorite header.
That makes adjustments each week in and week out, and I want to see what adjustments that he have for going against this team. I'm just ready to see. I'm just excited to see it, and I'm ready to see it. Ladies and gentlemen, and Chris keep putting up these bandwagons. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a bandwagon. I'm a New York Giants fan, but I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. So don't let Chris tell you guys that story. Yeah, but I definitely want to see my Giants be able to go take care of business against this offense. If we're able to pull this off, man, hey, the NFC East is ours this year, and I expect Danny Dimes to be back this Sunday, and I'm ready for him to be back this Sunday, and I'm ready to roll.
I was gonna say, don't get me on the screen with that.
Me neither.
Chris keep distracting me putting all these teams.
I shouldn't be distracting you from talking about your team. Like, we all wonder who you say one thing, but us and the fans believe you feel another way. You don't have to explain yourself. We already know the story.
I am going to explain.
I love Aaron Rodgers. He's a bad man. But you know more about the Packers than you do the Giants this year. But that's neither here nor there. Freddie, we don't got time to waste on this. We know the truth.
Monday, ladies and gentlemen.
Miss Sheila, your son is a Packers fan. He does not like the Giants. He also said his second team is the Cowboys. But let's move on, Will.
Heck no!
I wanted to ask a question to Chris and Coach Cam before we move on. What's going to happen first? Is Freddie going to admit that he's a Packers fan, or am I going to pick an NBA team to like?
Right. You got to pick an NBA team.
No. I have text messages that Freddie said, I'm a Packers fan more than Giants fan this year. I got the text. I got the drop.
Send it to me right now.
I got the drop.
Freddie, I be trying to root for you.
I said,
I really do.
Send it to me right now. I'll post it on the show.
I said, Freddie, who's going to win? Last week I said, Freddie, are my Eagles going to beat the Packers? He said, my Packers are getting the victory. Let's move on, Will. We got to move on, Will, because it's time.
Right. Before he goes, I'll give you my game that I'm looking forward to in Week 14.
Yes.
And I think it's honestly, if I'm looking at the slate, the most important game of the week. I'm going Minnesota and Tampa Bay. This is a game to where Tampa Bay is coming off their bye week, and they have one of the last bye weeks, which is really tough for having that early bye week and that. Oh, nah.
Hey, that's a good team to hop on the bandwagon.
Okay, but getting back to that, it's really hard to have that week 4 bye week when it comes to the stretch, and it's really hard to have that week 13 bye week or week 14 whenever it comes to early on in the season. And Tampa Bay is a team that has a lot of question marks, more than they have answers, honestly. Yeah, I got it, Chris.
Come on, we love you.
He's going to get his Lakers jersey right now.
Freddie's kicked out. Come on.
But it's one of those to where this is a very interesting game because Tampa has raised a lot of question marks. We don't know exactly who Tampa is. We've seen the game plan go completely pass. We've seen games where they only run 5 times in an entire game. And what does everybody say but to not abandon the run, to establish the run to win and to win football games? And that's not what Tampa Bay does. And Tampa Bay has great backs too. It's very interesting. And this is a game to where if Minnesota wins this, Tampa Bay falls into that 7 seed. This is a dangerous spot to where Tampa Bay, if they don't beat this Vikings team, they're on the cusp of falling out of the playoffs, and it's terrifying. This is a terrible. Could you imagine a Minnesota Vikings team that started off 1-5, works all the way back up, defeats Tampa Bay? I want to say in Tampa Bay, and then comes out and knocks the Bucs, Tom Brady, and the Bucs out of the postseason. I mean,
that's a nasty narrative, Will. Finish. I got a part 2 to that. That's a nasty narrative.
It's interesting, and this game really it says it's going to say a lot about the Bucs. We're going to learn exactly who the Bucs are in this game because they're fresh off of a bye week. They've had an extra week to prepare for the Vikings. They are in desperate win now mode because they are on the border. They really are a bubble team right now, and it's kind of terrifying for the Bucs, especially for how loaded their roster is. So, Chris, what do you have to add to that?
I'm telling you guys this: if they lose, Monday we're bringing the heat because I got some things rambling in my mind, but I don't want to waste no time. Just Monday's going to get crazy. Freddie's going to talk about a team he really loves. All these type of things.
Hey, Will, I got a rebuttal real quick.
I thought it was going to be the Stephen A.
We don't got no time for you. Got 15 seconds.
I want to rebuttal. Will, we've liked you in the network. You've been here about a month and a half ago. And you a winner. You want to go on a winning team.
Now, whatever.
He don't deserve to be on stream talking like that. He don't deserve that.
Come on,
Freddie. We're talking about football, Freddie.
Freddie, before we jump into NBA topics, we still got a couple of NFL to go, but I've told you once in the group chat, and I'll say it again now on live in front of everybody. The way you act about the Lakers makes me not want to be a Laker fan. All right, but we're going to move on to the awards. We're going to talk about some award predictions right now. We talk about the MVP almost every single week on here. We talk about, is it a 2-man, is it 1-man, is it a 5-man race? Who cares? So let's talk about some other awards right now. Let's start with Offensive Player of the Year. Typically not going to a quarterback, typically going to somebody else. So, but it can go to anybody. So let's start with Freddie. Freddie, I want to get your prediction on who you think will be the Offensive Player of the Year in the NFL.
We just got done talking about the Minnesota Vikings. If you're talking about a team that's a player that is making that team improve each week and week out, who's carrying the team on the back. You talking about a Dalvin Cooks as running back. Have you guys seen what this young man, this man have done this year? This dude he have 251 attempts, he have 1,250 yards and 13 touchdowns. If it was not for him, Kirk Cousins not carrying this team. So we all know it had to come from somewhere else. Dalvin Cook is, he's put in the work this year. To me, he's the Offensive Player of the Year. You can kind of go back and forth to him and Derrick Henry this year. Honestly, they like going back and forth. So I'm going with Dalvin Cook though.
Chris, I saw you nod your head a little bit. Are you in agreement with Freddie, or you have somebody else in there?
Of course not. But that's a great pick. Can't take nothing away from him at all. I don't want anybody to get that conclusion. But it's 2 guys on the same team to me that's putting up 2 great years, and that's Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And how I feel about it is that Travis Kelce is, if he stays on the path he's on right now, can potentially break the record for all-time, tight end receiving yards in a single season. He does that. He has, a double-digit touchdown year. Travis Kelce's balling out this year. He's separated himself to be the best tight end so far in the league. This is 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons. I think Travis Kelce deserves it. And if not him, then Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has 13 touchdowns right now. Tyreek Hill stays on the path he's on. He has over 1,000 yards. He keeps balling like he's balling. Those two are top 3 in yards, for receiving. Trey, I see you saying DK. I think DK is going to get a lot of consideration. But at the end, I do feel like Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. But my main pick is Travis Kelce. But one of those two guys, to me, is going to win this if you're talking about a receiver.
Coach Cam, I'll turn it over to you. Who's currently your offensive player of the year?
Offensive player of the year, man. I was looking at it, several different, I can never go against Travis Kelce, University of Cincinnati. I never go against him. But however, man, looking at looking at the totality of things, I got Devontae Adams. A lot of people say he's even though I think they got other good, decent receivers, but a lot of people say he's the main weapon, only weapon. And I look at his stats so far, through 10 games, he has 84 catches, over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns. What he does week in and week out. And, he's on a pace for 117 catches, 1,440 yards, and 18 touchdowns.
That's nasty.
He will be in the category with only 3 receivers with a season like that. Rice, Moss, and Rice, Moss, and Marvin Harrison. Those are your only 3. And if you have a season like that, it's going to be hard to keep him out of consideration for offensive player of the year, especially when we just seen the receiver get in Michael Thomas. I think that if you look at it overall, but outside of the catches, I think, Devontae Adams is having a more dominant year than that. So for me, it's Devontae Adams, what he's doing. All I ever hear is that the Packers need more weapons. He's the only weapon. Well, for him to be the only weapon, for him seeing double teams, triple team, over the top, bracketed, and everything like that, he still finds a way to get it done week in and week out. So for me, it's Devontae Adams.
Go ahead, Freddie.
Coach Cam, you're still right. Hey, just like they're trying to say, it's like a Chico and him and Aaron Rodgers. Woo, wait, that's a beautiful thing to see, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a lot of great 1-2 combos in the league right now, and that's definitely one of them.
But I tell you what, whenever I'm looking at this, I'm going to go with similar to who I think, like similar with an MVP, whose team wouldn't be there if that player wasn't there. And because of that, I can't take away anything from Travis Kelce. I can't take away anything from Devontae Adams. But I'm going to have to agree with Freddie on Dalvin Cook. You want to talk about a guy who has really picked it up down the stretch, and you want to talk about a Minnesota team that would not be in playoff contentions without Dalvin Cook. Whenever I'm looking at his stats, I want to say that over the last couple of games, let me read you some stats. Back on November 1st, ran for 163. The next game he ran for 206, then 96, then 115. Got slowed down by Carolina at 61, but then came back and dropped 120. It's one of those to where he's coming down the stretch, and he has just been such a big, impactful player for the Minnesota Vikings. Without that running game, obviously Kirk Cousins he won't look half as good as he does, and he doesn't look great as it is anyway. But he's had a couple of games recently where he's kind of stepped in. He's looked better as a quarterback, not great, but better. And it's got to be because you have to start to respect the run game. And even though you're respecting the run game, Dalvin Cook's the biggest weapon out there in Minnesota. He's still getting through. And so it's one of those to where if he continues on and the Minnesota Vikings find their way into the postseason, I'm going to give it to Dalvin Cook because of that. But let's go to the opposite side of the ball. Let's talk about the defensive player of the year. So let's go in reverse order. Coach Cam, we'll go to you first. Who do you think is the defensive player of the year right now?
Oh, defensive player of the year right now. There's a couple people in mind, that I think of. I'm not gonna say their names because I'm quite sure we're gonna hear them from the other guys. But for me, man, for me, I've been consistent with it. All year about the impact that he makes week in and week out. It's Aaron Donald for me. It's Aaron Donald for me. It's something about, like, you ask a quarterback, where do you hate pressure the most? It's up the middle, because there's nowhere for you to go. If edge rushers, you can step up in the pocket, deliver a throw. When that pressure in your face, you're done. And what I see and how Aaron Donald dominates week in and week out, and he's double teamed. He's lifting linemen off their feet and throwing them out the way. I mean, he's unreal. He's an unreal player. And as much as I tried to look and to be like, I don't want to just pick Aaron Donald because it's a lazy pick, but you watch him week in and week out, he's so dominant, man. He's so dominant. He's gonna win it again. I mean, you game playing around him, he still's gonna get his. Outside of the your quarterbacks and stuff like that, you could arguably say Aaron Donald's the best overall player in the league. So it's Aaron Donald for me.
I think you're right. I don't think that's far-fetched at all. Chris Brown, we'll go over to you. Are you agreeing with Aaron Donald? You got a different take.
I'm going to give a different answer because I don't want to be repetitive. But, as a guy that played defensive line, Aaron Donald is the guy that everybody looks up to, especially when you're undersized playing that defensive tackle position. Aaron Donald is a beast. You're not their quarterback. You're not the, offensive, left tackle, right tackle. That pass rusher is, arguably the second most important position in the NFL. And he's the best one. Budda Baker may have a case. I see that comment. But for me, I'm sticking with the cornerback. And the cornerback I'm going to is arguably the best corner this year in Xavier Howard.
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying for a while, the Dolphins, they're going to rebuild. They're tanking. I'm sorry. They got Xavier Howard, who was one of the best corners for the past couple of years. Then they go get a Byron Jones. That's a dominant cornerback duo. But one of them right now is just separating himself. Honestly, you can argue he's one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the league. I mean, this year, this dude has 8 interceptions, 16 pass deflections, completion percentage under 50. I mean, this dude is really doing his thing. He's dominating that for one position. He's taking away that one side of the field. When you look at dominant corners, you want them to be able to dominate the side. Like when you have one dominant corner, it makes the defense overall just so much better because now they can focus on one half of the field. Now they don't have to focus on this. And what he's doing right now, what he's been doing for the past couple of years, leading the league in interceptions this year, and he's done it before. I don't think he gets the credit that he deserves. So more than likely, he's not going to get it because he's not the sexy pick on a dominant team. But I think if they make the playoffs, he needs to get more consideration for the year that he's had this year.
I'm with you, Chris. I still
That's a good pick.
Xavier Howard still slept on just because he's in Miami, and people don't understand that he is one of, if not the best corner in the game. He plays up to it. It's been amazing. There's a reason he got paid. So, Freddie, we'll turn it over to you. Who do you have right now, or at the end of the season, ending up with the Defensive Player of the Year?
Me personally, I'm going Aaron Donald because I'm looking at him tonight. Every time the defense on the field, even though he might not be in Cam's face, he has something to do with it. This dude is he's scary. He's scaring his quarterbacks. They don't want nothing to do with him. This dude is tearing up the line. This dude is he's just dominant. He's been like this for the last couple of years. When you're talking about Evan, having 11 sacks this year already, the season not even over yet. And that's not even calculated what happened today, but I'm definitely going with Aaron Donald. That dude is a beast, and without him, yes, you have a good defensive line, but that dude is the leader of that defensive line. I'm
gonna go different. I'm gonna be a little bit different. I'm gonna go T.J. Watt. You want to talk about a guy who's been absolutely amazing for the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. We know who he is, comes from a lineage of great pass rushers, whenever you talk about it, and his brother JJ as well. This is a guy who he's leading the NFL in sacks, just one over Aaron Donald. So not too great, nothing to bat your eye at. He's currently leading the NFL in quarterback knockdowns, currently 2 above Carl Lawson. And then whenever you go over to quarterback hurries, and I feel like this is one of the most underrated stats. What's up, Chris?
Tackles for loss. I think people don't understand how important that stat is. He is number 1 with over 20. He's getting in the backfield and dominating. I wanted to say him, but I had a feeling you were going to go there, and I didn't want to steal your thunder. More than a moderator. Big screen.
Hey, there you go. But, yeah, exactly. So whenever you talk about the tackles for loss as well, he's leading the league in that. Whenever it comes down to it, that's an awesome banner. That's sick. But whenever the one that I look at the most, especially when it comes to a pass rusher, is quarterback hurries, because there is nothing, as Chris said, there's nothing that a quarterback hates more than being pressured. Obviously, if it's coming up the middle, you have nowhere to go. But you want to talk about a guy who is just consistently in the backfield, making quarterbacks make terrible decisions, make them quick too. He is currently right now leading the NFL at 49 quarterback pressures. The next closest is Joey Bosa at 37. So he is in the backfield pressuring quarterbacks 12 more times than the next best guy. Whenever it comes down to it, yes, Aaron Donald, absolutely amazing player. He's there every single year in, year out. But I'm going to give it to T.J. Watt just to see a new face with the award, just because the way he's been playing this season is second to none. He has come up. He has led that Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and it's the one thing that we've seen at least be somewhat consistent about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've seen some questions in their offense. We've seen some questions in their running game. And, yeah, they've had a game or two, but what team doesn't have a game or two? The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is an electric unit, and it's led by the young gun in T.J. Watt, and he has just absolutely been balling out this season, and I think it's time for him to get some recognition. So I'm going to give him my Defensive Player of the Year. To wrap up the awards, we're going to go to Coach of the Year. Myles Garrett has been balling too, I tell you.
Yes.
But let's wrap it up with the Coach of the Year. You know, we've hit up the other ones. This is one that's not exactly the as Chris said in the last one, it's not exactly the sexy award. You know, but Coach of the Year. I mean, it's obviously a very underrated award. I mean, it comes down to importance. So I'm going to go with Freddie first. Freddie, I'm going to turn to you. It's your time to redeem yourself. All right, let's get your Coach of the Year prediction right now. Wow. And I said redeem yourself.
He never fails to disappoint. He always
Man, it's time to put some respect on this man's name. I mean, yes, the team don't have the most winningest record. Yes, this guy not the sexiest name. But you know what? It's time to put some respect on his name. Everybody was thinking on my Giants for getting a special team coach. Yes, I'm talking about Joe Judge, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Judge. Why? He came from the Bill Belichick tree. He came to my Giants whose culture sucked. Our culture was awful. We did not go out there and compete every day. Now we have a coach. We have a coach who believes in our players, who inspires our players, who come out there and teach. And he put a culture within his team to play hard, to teach to play hard, and each week they play hard. I don't see how this dude is not a Coach of the Year this year. I mean, tell me what coach this year came to a franchise that was a disaster. I mean, we went in 3 games, 4 games, and then even though we lose games, we're still in the games. It's still competitive. This dude have come in here and put in a competitive vibe with this team. And Chris, don't act like I didn't see that. I just caught clips to that. Take that off of that. I don't like put respect on my name.
Oh, is that one better?
No.
All right. I'll go over to you, Chris. I'm gonna need you to follow that up.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I saw that coming. Like I knew he was going to say that. I had faith that he would be smart. You know, I had faith that he would have some type of knowledge, but you know, he would redeem himself when I beat him in the battle, but he didn't. So
beat him in what battle?
Who advanced and who didn't advance?
Well, I needed a recount.
Yeah, then no recount happened. That was 2 weeks ago. Stop being a double L, a lame loser. Here is who
the champ again? Not
Coach
you.
Cam. Coach Cam. Who made it to the finals?
Exactly.
Who made it to the finals? Who made it to the finals?
Cowboy fan right now.
I made it to the final.
I mean, who had to judge me? Who had to sit back and judge me?
You act like a Cowboy fan.
You a double L. You a double. Freddie, you're wasting time. You're wasting time, man. Listen, double L. The real coach of the year. You talking about changing a culture? Okay, you know I disrespect the Giants all I want, but I'm going to put respect on them right now. They won 2 championships since 2000 started. They won championships in the 80s. Let's not act like the Giants culture is a terrible culture. Yes, recently they've been bad, but let's not act like the Giants are one of the most historical teams in the NFL. We all know the history that they had, you know, for the past 100 years, for the past 50 years. The guy that really came in and changed the culture, the guy that came in, and this is the best record they're going to have in decades. Steven Stefanski. Listen, this Browns teams, you know, no disrespect to Coach Cam, but the Browns and the Bengals are really the most, you know, disrespected franchises in the NFL. We know they're a joke. And the fact that they're in the same division is terrible. Marvin Lewis had his run when the Bengals were honestly a very good football team. You know, and he changed the culture. We've seen what they were without him. We've seen what they are right now. Steven Stefanski, I feel like he figured out the key to this team, run the ball, have a great defense. I feel like he really figured out that Baker was not worth the number 1 pick. You know, I said, Steven, Kevin, don't matter. Y'all know his name. Everybody messes up. It happens. It happens. You know, I messes up Freddie's name. I called him a loser. No, I didn't. That's his real name. Point being is this Brown coach deserves Coach of the Year. Look what he's doing right now. I mean, did anybody expect to be the Browns to be what they are right now? I didn't. I had the Browns being a disappointed. I had the Browns trading guys this year. I had Landry being gone. I had, Kareem Hunt being gone. I had them blowing it up. I understand I messed up. It happens. It's life. I've seen all the top guys mess up. Freddie messes up every day. That's how he lost to me. He said who? At least I know his name. Freddie didn't even know who he is. So Freddie stopped laughing. So this is not a debate. This is real talk, and we talking real talk. The point being that is this dude has been playing great this year. This dude deserved Coach of the Year. He really came in and changed the culture, and now the Browns are being taken more and more serious. And I will say this, if he beats the Ravens, I think that just stamps on his resume. Now there's one coach. If nobody says it, I'm going to put respect on his name when we're done.
Coach Cam, I'll move to you. Are you
Freddie on mute? Stay on mute because we don't got time to waste.
Yeah, we're moving on.
Hey,
Freddie.
Will.
To
Hey,
be,
Will.
oh, go ahead.
Don't play that clip, Freddie. We don't got time to waste. Come on, Coach Cam.
Coach Cam, we'll move to you. Are you gonna put respect on the name, or are you gonna follow in the footsteps?
No, I honestly I was gonna pick Kevin Stefanski just because when you talk about cultures, honestly, Browns would be probably worse than the Bengals as far as cultures over the past 25 to 30 years. At least we had, playoff appearances, winning season, division titles, things like that. Browns didn't have any of that. They have one season of a winning record since they've been back in existence. So that just kind of show you what culture he had to deal with and what he established very quickly. However, since Kevin Stefanski's name was already brought up, I'm gonna go and put it's a team that wins all the time, but Sean Payton. You have to start looking at Sean Payton as Coach of the Year just because you lose Drew Brees. And even me, I say, Taysom Hill, no. He against pretty much everybody. Say, I'm going to put this guy out here, and he's going to win us games. And guess what? He's winning games with Taysom Hill. And it's something to be said about winning without your quarterback. In the last 2 years, the Saints are 7-0 with their backup quarterback. That's coaching. That's coaching. Any other team, fan base would be using it as an excuse. Oh, our quarterback's out. This is why we're doing that. I can't wait till my quarterback gets back in there. No, they're keeping that thing going along, even though the teams they play haven't been great. But however, when you're working on the second string quarterback, you know what that drop off is like. You got a game plan totally different. And it seems like, Sean Payton has several different ways to skin a cat and figure out how to win games. And, it's something to be said about that. Winning games in the National Football League is hard, and it's especially hard when you don't have not only a starting quarterback, but you talk about a Hall of Fame quarterback, always one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time statistically. So that's a hard thing to replace. But they do it seamlessly, and it's like it's no fall off there. They continue to roll, they continue to play well, and you know what? You got to give him credit because he's coaching up Taysom Hill too. Looking at his stats last week, he was incredibly efficient. You're looking at Taysom Hill getting better week in and week out, and I gotta eat some crow on that, because I said he couldn't do it. So I'm gonna go with Sean Payton. I think he deserves a lot of consideration, losing his quarterback and still keeping that train rolling. Yeah, that's humble pie. I deserve some of that. But keeping that train rolling, especially in the division where you thought once Breeze went out, you really thought the Bucks would come up and knock them off, and they just simply haven't.
I tell you what, for this question, I'm going to pass. But for my actual answer, of course, I'm going Kevin Stefanski. Whenever I'm looking at it, like Chris said, it's a guy who came in and changed the culture. I had an idea who you're going to go with, but I'm going to leave that to you. I'm going to let you put respect on that man's name. Okay. But yes, I love what Kevin Stefanski's doing. And I think whenever we looked at the Minnesota Vikings early on, whenever they were having their woes, I think it kind of proved that Kevin Stefanski, how good of a play caller he is, how good of a coach he is, because we saw how bad Minnesota was doing. And yes, Minnesota is starting to get it rolling now, but that's because they're just putting more and more faith into Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins finally starting to play up. And so now it's starting to get the ball rolling. But we saw what Minnesota was without him. And, this is a team that potentially could have won the division in Minnesota. This is a team that that a lot of people had speculations to go take on the Green Bay and to go take the NFC North, maybe finish an 11-win team, a 12-win team. This was a team that had really high expectations and have really fallen short. But I'm going to go with Kevin Stefanski just because of what he's done with Cleveland. You hit the nail on the head whenever you talk about changing cultures. This is a team that was just 0-16 just a couple of years ago, a team that's really gone through so much. And it's nice to almost for not for Coach Cam's sake because he's a Bengals fan, but whenever it comes down to everything else, I mean, it's nice to see a winning culture at least this year in Cleveland. So to see if it's going to withstand, we'll see. But Chris, who was that guy that you were going to put some respect on?
This is a guy that, and I think about 14 years that he's been on this team, never had a losing record. This is a guy that, has been a staple for this franchise. This is a guy that I feel like doesn't get the respect he deserves, and I'm talking about Mike Tomlin. I don't care if they beat who they beat. You still have to line them up and place them. I've seen good teams lose to bad teams every single week, so I don't want to hear that narrative. You're talking about a guy with the culture. I mean, this team, no losing seasons. I mean, he's had banged-up quarterbacks. He had banged-up defenses. He had banged-up players. He still finds a way to get it done, and I feel like, he doesn't get respect for being, how great of a coach he is. He's a trailblazer with this, man. I don't think people really understand how much what he's doing is really affecting everybody. Man, put some respect on Mike Tomlin's name. He's a legend. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer when it comes to a coach. I say their team, but I say their team isn't this, their team isn't that. And that's the truth. But if Mike Tomlin can win another ring, I'll be happy for him. And that's facts.
I have breaking news.
Yes.
In a current 24-3 game with the Rams over the Patriots, Cam Newton has been pulled from the game.
We're not surprised.
There it is.
We're not surprised.
We
probably won't see him start this again this year.
I mean, he been missed before, right? This year,
for COVID reasons.
Okay. We're not really surprised on it. I thought he was best. He had a bad game. He threw a couple picks. I may be mistaken.
He may have.
But the point is, I mean, we're not going to.
But benched again, nonetheless.
Yeah, we don't. Cam Newton was dealt a bad hand. He went to a team. He thought one thing would happen, and then the weapons were like, they didn't have weapons last year, but the weapons compared to this year to last year is just bad. And so I hope he finds a way on the team again. But the cards he was dealt this year, and like Coach Camp said, I don't see this dude signing as a backup and playing that Teddy Bridgewater role, playing that, the role came back in 1 year and start the next. I don't know.
Tyrod Taylor.
That Tyrod Taylor special. I don't know if he's built for that. He should take that route, but regardless, we can talk about this more on Monday.
All right. Chris, before we jump into the NBA, we've seen a lot of comments come up on the screen. People have been all over the comment section today. So why don't you tell them what could happen if they stay in that comment section?
Listen. Keep commenting. I see everybody out there. I see some new faces out there. Shout out to y'all. Keep commenting on the video. Like the page, share the page. At the end of the month, here on All Sports, All Plays Network, we have a thing called Viewer of the Month. You keep doing that, you may get chosen at the Viewer of the Month, and that Viewer of the Month gets their very own free T-shirt.
All right, and don't forget, if you guys aren't afraid to be in the comments section, but you still want to come and support, don't forget you guys can reach out to any of us for $14.99 plus shipping and handling. You can come get one of your own ASAP T-shirts, which would be absolutely amazing. I mean, they look great. We saw Ace rocking one yesterday on Sports Minute. They look fantastic. So go ahead and get yourself one for Christmas. Nice little stocking stuffer for all the friends and family at home. But let's move on to the NBA. We always start things with a hot take. So let's get a hot take on the NBA season. I'm going to start with Coach Cam. Coach Cam, let's get a hot take for the NBA.
Hot take for the NBA, man. I've been thinking about this all day, but the hot take I got, I'm gonna keep it, short and sweet, because I know we got a lot of topics to get into. I'm gonna go on the record to say, and it's unfortunate, I think we're gonna see a lot of injuries in the NBA this season. With the short turnaround, and guys, I'm just seeing guys not really taking this little training camp seriously, not taking the preseason seriously. And I think this is a good opportunity for guys to get in there and really, really, really kind of get back in shape and get back in the groove of things, especially the guys that haven't played since March. And you're looking at teams that's just got out of the bubble and are going to play, and how that's going to affect them and those legs as well. You talk about 71-day turnaround for some of these playoff teams, and then we're looking at close to almost a full calendar season for others. That's too long of a gap. I don't care if you play at Rico Hines. I don't care if you play pickup games. There's nothing like 5-on-5 NBA action full speed. And I just think I'm not hoping not, but I'm just thinking we're going to see a lot of players, get injured, and I'm hoping it's not. I hope it doesn't happen, and I'm hoping it doesn't happen to any one major stars. But I can just see it happening, man, with the quick turnaround. Cats really not participating in preseason games like that, and it's both sides of the spectrum. Either you've been out too long, or you ain't have enough rest, and that affects you. And I can just see a injury riddled season in the NBA.
All right, Chris, I'll move it to you. Let's get a hot take for the NBA.
The sad, honest truth is that was going to be my hot take with preseason games starting Monday. And I don't really want to call it a hot take. I just want to call it a harsh reality. I mean, we saw what happened with the NFL. You cut things short, bad things happen. It sucks that that's the reality. But when you don't have enough time to train your body, not the best outcome will always happen. I mean, you look at some teams, right, that they haven't played since March. That it's not all the teams. That's maybe 6 to 8 teams, and then you got teams that were playing in the bubble in August. You got teams like the Lakers, and you got teams like the Miami Heat that was playing in October. Teams playing in September. That's not a lot of time to really get your body right. So I feel as though one or two things is going to happen. Hopefully not true, but we're going to see some injuries, or we're just going to see players resting a lot more than usual. They don't want players resting on nationally televised games. That's cool. It's 72 games. The Lakers have, 20, maybe 16 nationally televised games. LeBron can rest the rest of those because at the end of the day, player health comes first. So it's either going to be one or two things, man. It's a sad reality. But my hot take, I don't want to, I switch it up. Man, oh man, oh man. Here's my hot take. Michael Porter Jr., this guy is going to have a hell of a season, and I think he's going to be the leading scorer for this team with the Denver Nuggets. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to average 25 points this year. I think Michael Porter Jr. is going to be all-star this year. I think Michael Porter Jr. might make a case for third-team All-NBA this year. I've been a fan since Michael Porter Jr. since high school, man. Everybody says high school that. We've seen so many players come out of high school and dominate the NBA. So, move that talk somewhere else. And then, college, he had back injuries. But I knew, listen, you get him into the league with professional athletic trainers, give him a year to get ready. I knew he was going to dominate. We saw what he did in the bubble. I mean, this dude is built he's built like Giannis, but he plays like KD. Even though KD is low-key built like Giannis. But the point being is that this dude is 6'11", 6'10", 6'11", that can shoot and score from anywhere. And his on-ball defense, it's not the best, but his help side defense is great. He'll come from help side. He'll block a shot. He'll rebound. We've seen him average 20 and 10. He can shoot the ball. I feel like once he develops more of an off-ball game, once he figures out how to be the best player with the ball not in his hand most of the times, because you got guys like Nikola Jokic, who's really that leading playmaker, Jamal Murray, that's going to have the ball in his hand. Once he finds his niche for this team, I think he's going to end the season their leading scorer and dominate the NBA.
All right. I tell you what, a couple episodes ago, I said Michael Porter Jr. was going to be the most improved player this season. I've talked about multiple times. I like Jamal Murray and Jokic. Chris told me to love this team. Don't like it, love it. Maybe I'm leaning. We'll see.
I may just piggyback on the Nuggets. They need to play ball.
I think they are this year with no backup big man. With no backup big man, he's in there. He's in there.
I think they got rid of Miles Plumlee to really insert ball. I mean, this is a unicorn. You're talking about 7'3", who can dribble like KD, can pull up from 30. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, the Nuggets got some special potentially. But go ahead. I didn't mean to fit that.
We're cool.
Freddie, I'll move it over to you. Hot take for the NBA.
This is more of a rant, and I'm about to rant.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, the Los Angeles Clippers.
We about to talk about this.
I know, but I'm about to give my rant. Gave an extension to Paul George. Paul George, all I can say is show up in the playoffs. Stop talking. Stop running your mouth. We don't care. We don't want to hear it. I mean, to me, I don't see the purpose of the extension. I wouldn't have gave you the extension, but hey, the Clippers found some way. What can go wrong will go wrong to assign you to an extension first. You're not, especially the way you just got done playing in the playoffs and you think you deserve an extension. Oh no, I wouldn't have gave you. I could have gave you that in a heartbeat, man. Stop.
Well, I mean, while we're on the topic, we might as well go ahead and hone it in. You know, Chris Paul, or not Chris Paul, what? Paul George. One of the Pauls. Paul George just got his extension of 5-year deal, $190 million, can go all the way up to 226 per usual max deal. Interesting, to say the least. I'm going to turn it over. We just got Freddie's opinion on it. So, Chris, let's hear your rebuttal. What are your opinions on the on the on the Paul George deal?
I mean, it's just like, so I kind of play a little bit of devil's advocate, to Freddie. Freddie, stop putting that up. My name's Chris Brown, not Chris Paul. He made a mistake. Move on. You about to get kicked out the stream. Listen, Paul George, I understand how bad he played, during the bubble. I understand how bad he plays in the playoffs. That's understandable. But, Paul George is really one of the most talented players in the NBA. And I don't care what nobody says. When you talk about talent, I understand he has to prove it in the playoffs. I understand that. But when you talk about talent, I mean, what can this guy do? He can shoot. He can score. He can play make. He can dribble. He can pass. He can defend. I mean, to me, I've been saying this for a while. He's more talented than Kawhi, but Kawhi goes out and shows it every night. But we're talking about more talent. He does everything better than Kawhi, in my opinion. Defense, you can argue maybe Kawhi, but everything else, Paul George can do just as good as Kawhi, if not better. So when I look at it, I say, okay, I understand, you give him an extension, but then you going to fill his pockets up like that. He still does have to prove it. But I do think this year the Clippers are going to be better than last year. I think every team needs that humbling experience. Some teams may not get it that first year. We've seen it this year with the Lakers. But, we have seen teams get humbled, the first couple years together, then come back and regroup. Not saying that they're favorite. Not saying that they're going to win a championship. But I do think Paul George is more focused this year. I do think, with a guy like Kawhi Leonard, he's going to be more focused this year. Here's my thing, though. I don't see Kawhi Leonard signing an extension. I don't know what his contract's looking right now. I'll look it up as we speak, but I don't see Kawhi Leonard signing there long term. I think Kawhi Leonard is a guy that wants to win. He doesn't care about, oh, he's here, let me go play with him. Oh, he's here, let me play with them. Oh, he signed for 3 years. I don't know if he signed back. I don't know if he's going to ask for a trade. It depends on how this team goes off. If this team's showing that they can't win, I don't see Kawhi Leonard wanting to stay there trying to be no buddy. Kawhi Leonard wants to win. He's not like Paul George that says he wants to retire everywhere he plays. We heard Paul George say this in Indiana. Then he said that with OKC, but wanted to get out of both places. So for me, Paul George, you're very talented. But like Freddie said, you have to prove it, and you have to prove it when it matters. I'm a big fan of Paul George, but I'm very critical when he, kind of disrespected Doc Rivers when your head coach right now was on the bench. When your head coach right now could have made adjustments in the playoffs. You had you had a lot of post ups in the season. You had a lot of pick and rolls in the season. Don't act like you didn't have these opportunities in the playoffs. You didn't maximize on those opportunities. So all that talking, now I'm getting mad because I remember what he said about Doc. All that talking, I don't want to hear it. Let me see it. I believe in you, but I need to see it. And it's been so many years that you haven't shown me that you can do it. I'm kind of forgetting what PG-13 looked like. I don't care about the regular season. I see players do things in the regular season. I want to see it in the playoffs. I want to see you get to the finals. Until that, all that talking, I hope he stop it. I hope he play. Because he play, I'm backing him up. Facts.
Coach Cam, your opinion on the PG-13 deal?
A lot of people say, it's a lot of money, and it is. Anytime you offer somebody the max, it is. You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking at the people who get max contracts these days.
Break it down for him.
Chris Middleton, max contract player. Is he better than him?
No.
You don't think he's better than Chris Middleton?
Oh, no, I thought you were saying it's Chris Middleton better than Paul George.
Okay.
No, Paul George better. Paul George better.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. You look at some of these guys that got max contracts. Tobias Harris, Blake Griffin. A lot of these guys that got max deals. And, when you have a good player, when you have an all-star level player, borderline superstar, borderline, you star, you almost there, you're not quite, you got to sign these guys. And they are, and to be honest, they're gonna be max deals. You got guys and I love Kyle Lowry. He's a max deal player. But if you look at it, you would think Paul George would be rated higher. So at the same time, it is a lot of money. But if you're the Clippers, and I said this before, there's no other moves that you can make. You have to make this work with them too over the next next year or two. Now, Kawhi's not going to ever sign a long-term deal like that because he's looking like if Paul George don't end up stepping up, I'm out of here. But in Paul George's case, he's an LA guy, and he's gonna be there. I think he's gonna be there regardless whether Kawhi decides to leave or stay. So for them, it's a player that, okay, if Kawhi decides to leave, they have Paul George there, and you try to, build around him per se. I'm not saying it's the best in the world, but I mean, it's not a horrible signing, guys, and that's how I look at it. You almost gotta kind of do it because you gotta make this work. There's no other. When people talk about trading Paul George and all that stuff, I'm like, no, you have to make this work. You gave up your whole team and your whole draft assets for this team for this nucleus. So you got to make this work. There's no other moves to make.
And one thing, what that all that overpaid stuff in this new day and age, with how much money the league is making, can anybody really be considered overpaid? I mean, if you compare them to people from past generation, this league is making quadruple the amount of money they were making back then in the 80s and 90s. So yes, these guys' contracts are going to be large. Do they deserve it? A lot of them don't. But you compare them. Listen, at the end of the day, with all the money being made, everybody wants to get a max contract. Marcus Morris, I love him, signed $64 million. Does he deserve it? No, he's not a max. He's not that type of caliber player. But with the money this league is making now, all these players are going to get what looks like big deals. But I mean, at the end of the day, with all the money the league is making, they're going to have to pay him like that, and it's going to hurt teams' salary cap. But that's just the way it is with the players now. And I'm not mad at them. Get that money, chase that bag, and take care of your family.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, whenever it comes down to it, whenever you're looking at the regular season, I know Chris Brown said regular season doesn't mean nothing. And yeah, you're right. Obviously I want to see what you can do in the postseason, but whenever it comes down to it, whenever you're looking at it, Paul George is still in the upper echelon of players whenever we talk about the NBA in the regular season. He's not, not top 5, not top 10, but like he's up there. He's up there, one of the league's better players, and he plays very well. I think he's earned the money. And like Coach Cam said, I want to piggyback a little bit off of that too. You want to talk about some of the guys that get some of these deals. I mean, such as Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin gets that kind of money to have the postseason off. I mean, at least Paul George is getting there. It's one of those. He's not performing. You definitely have to prove yourself. But it is one of those things to where you do need to lock it up. I mean, obviously you went out, you got Kawhi Leonard, and then you brought in Paul George, who he said that he wanted with him. And so why not, if you want Kawhi Leonard there, why not lock up the other half? And so try to make something work. You've put a lot of your chips forward. You've pushed them all in on Kawhi and Paul George. You need to make something happen. And so why not pay him again with guys like Chris Middleton, guys like Blake Griffin, Tobias Harris there. You knew he was going to get his money. It didn't know for how long, and not to be. I'm honestly not shocked by a 5-year Supermax. Like I'm not shocked. I'm really not. But moving on to James Harden. Let's talk about him for a little bit. A guy that has been paid a lot of money in his career as well. Currently sitting on the Houston Rockets still. And originally he came out and he said he would welcome a trade to Chris Brown's Philadelphia 76ers. He's also welcoming a trade to Brooklyn Nets, but now he's added a couple more teams to that list to try to expand it on. Currently, he has now come out and said that he is adding the Milwaukee Bucks. He is adding the Miami Heat. Okay, so let's talk about this for a little bit. I'm going to turn to you first, Chris. Okay. What are your thoughts on him going on about on adding these expanding teams?
Well, I mean, I say this every time we talk about James Harden. I don't know why he wants to trade. For me, this is the best team I think he's had since he's been there. You got two very good quality big men. You got another point guard that does the same thing Russell Westbrook does, that can do the same thing Chris Paul is doing, and he could defend. I think this is a very good ball team. But with that being said, he says he wants to go. You look at the two teams he's added, Milwaukee, I feel like you trade everybody not named Giannis. You get rid of Middleton if you got to. You keep Jrue Holiday. Everybody else can go. And that's a very good basketball team. Now, that team can dominate. Will they do it? Who knows? But with Giannis not knowing if he's going to re-sign, I'm trading away everybody to get James Harden. And that's how I feel about that. With the Miami Heat, I don't think they'll do that. They're not that type of organization. They're going to play with grit and grind. I don't see them really giving up their young guys. I don't see them giving up Bam. I mean, maybe they throw a Precious Achiuwa in there. I mean, I don't know. The Rockets don't really need that many more big men. Who knows? I see the Bucks doing it, more than the Heat. But I will say this. I think James Harden is doing something that can potentially help him out. the more he kind of discredits the Rockets, the more that he says he wants to go, can ultimately lower his value to the point where, they might, to the point where the Rockets might not accept, okay, they said we're only going to go to the Nets. If we get, Kyrie or Kevin Durant, he's only going to go to the Sixers. If we get Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid, I think the more he talks, the more it can lower his value, and the more teams will just throw in a couple of quality guys, some draft picks. Quality, I mean guys that can obviously play the game of basketball. I'm not talking about a whole bunch of bench players, but, to the point where the Sixers can get away with Tobias Harris, maybe Shake Middleton, maybe Mike Scott, and another player, some picks. I think the more he talks is the more he's going to hurt himself out. But I do think he should stay with the Rockets. I mean, I don't like what he's doing to the new head coach. I mean, you didn't complain when you had, Mike D'Antoni. Why you complaining? We have a better coach, in my opinion. And, this guy right here, he's a guy that coaches guards well. He's a guy that's going to demand excellence, demand that they play defense, and this is a better team. So I'm sticking 10 toes on the fact that he's in the demand for a trade. But with the two teams he added, honestly, I think Milwaukee is the team that really should do it. Out of all the teams, I think Milwaukee needs to do it, because if they don't do it, Giannis is going to go. So you need to get James Harden there, and you need to, they do that. I'm sorry. I could put them over Brooklyn if they do that.
Coach Cam, I'll move to you. What are your thoughts on adding these additional teams to his trade list?
Now, I'm very interested in the Milwaukee Bucks, because everybody kept saying, Giannis need another piece, and everybody realized, even though he's he's a kind of a wing player, but no, like Giannis is a Shaq that needs his Kobe, and Harden would be perfect. Harden would be a perfect fit. You talk about having Drew Holiday, Harden, and Giannis. I'm saying right now, if that's the case, Milwaukee Bucks are your NBA champions.
Thank you.
They are your NBA champions. They are your NBA champions if that happened. I'm sorry. That's definitely the case. Miami Heat, I don't see that. Like I said, they just paid Bam out of that money. And I think they want to try to run that back. But I would love the Bucks to be able to do it. Get rid of Middleton, make a package around him, and get it done. If you're the Milwaukee Bucks, show Giannis that you're trying to win, so you can sign him back, and hopefully, you can have that to them. Actually, that big three for years to come.
Freddie, we'll turn to you. Are you with Coach Cam and Chris on this one? What are your thoughts on this?
No, the Bucks not going to trade nothing for James Harden. They're going to see the Drew Holiday edition. They want to see how that's going to work. The best team for James Harden is the Philadelphia 76ers. Why? James Harden, Daryl Morey had an awesome relationship. Daryl Morey tried to do everything he could do in Houston to help this dude win. And for some reason, I don't know why in the world that Chris Brown thinks that Houston is going to accept a trade without Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. That's not going to happen. I can already go ahead and say goodnight to that, goodbye to that.
The Sixers not trade. The Sixers came out and said, "I'm not trading my young two stars."
We know teams say that what they're not going to do, but they end up doing it anyway. So I can care less what that team say, because we've seen teams come out and say, "I'm not trading John Wall." The Pelicans said, "We're not trading Anthony Davis," and what eventually happened? It eventually got traded. So I believe the Sixers will give up Ben Simmons, young players, and the draft picks, and that'll eventually get him out of Houston. And Chris gonna say, "Well, why do Houston need 2 point guards?" Well,
that's not what I'm gonna say.
It's not just that he need 80. Why do they need 2 point guards? Ben Simmons can play more than one position. He don't just play point guard. They can put him at the 4. They can put him at the 5. They can do a lot of things with him. So I don't know why people think that the Houston Rockets will not get a star out of this. They're not going to deal with just have role players around him, because James Harden, let's put some respect on James Harden's name. This dude is a 30-point scorer a game. This dude is a former MVP. This dude is a walking bucket any game. This dude cannot be guarded. Yes, we need to see him do what he needs to do in the playoffs, but guess what? At the end of the day, we still need to put some respect on his name. That's point blank, period.
Okay, so why don't you? This is all I'm going to say is going to be 10 seconds. Why don't you put respect on Paul George's name if they both fold in the playoffs? And then we seen James Harden. If you got the Sixers roster, we've seen James Harden not be able to win without multiple guys around him. I mean, he had chances in the Rockets. We're going to save this for Monday because I don't have enough time to defend what I got to say. So you're making that ugly face. I'm very tired of seeing it. I don't got time.
What you just said is irrelevant.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wait till Monday, please. Wait till Monday.
The one I resonate most with is what Chris said whenever he said he's lowering his value. If he really wants out of Houston, he's doing a great job of doing it, because the more you open yourself up to these teams, to kind of piggyback off of that, the more you open yourself up, the more it's going to be obvious to where he's not going to play. And, we've talked about him boycotting before and not putting on a Rockets jersey, not coming out and playing. We've talked about this before on the network, that this is something that he could do. We've seen it happen before. We could see it happen again. And if he really wants out, I'd imagine he'd do something such as that. And you want to talk about opening up teams, you're adding more teams to it. Don't be shocked if he's not moved here in a couple days, if he starts opening up teams again. It's one of those to where he's proven between Philadelphia, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Miami, he wants to go to a contender. I mean, it's obvious, he wants to go somewhere where he can win now with another big piece. All those teams have a big piece, at least one in their lineup. So it's one of those to where he's really opening himself up and really kind of just dropping his value down as he's going. And honestly, if he wants out, I think it's a smart move to keep adding these teams. But let's get into our final topic of the night. Typical way we wrap up ASAP Real Talk. We got a 1 through 3 ranking on some NBA players, past and present today. So we are going to start off with Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, and Derrick Rose. The 3 good players played in the NBA. I'm going to start with Chris Brown. Chris, I need your ranking 1 through 3.
I'm going to go 1 to 3. Number 1, I have Grant Hill. Newsflash, ladies and gentlemen, before the injury, Grant Hill was the best small forward in the 90s. Better than Scottie Pippen. Way, way more better than Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen, yes, is a good defender, very good Robin, but Grant Hill is a Batman. Grant Hill was really one of the original Mr. Triple-Double, especially in that 90s era. Grant Hill was dominant. When you take away that injury, you can argue Grant Hill is going to go down as a top 5 small forward. Number 2, I have Penny Hardaway, another guy that career was clipped because of injuries. I mean, with Shaq going, Penny Hardaway was going to start being that Batman. But that knee injuries really took away from his athleticism. This guy that can give you 21 and 7 with multiple steals that can defend. I understand how he's coaching right now in Memphis, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about his playing days. Number 3, I have Derrick Rose. And no, this is no disrespect to Derrick Rose. I played AAU in D Roses. I won some championship in D Roses. I got buckets in D Roses. I love D Rose. D Rose was the MVP, the youngest MVP of this league. D Rose, even without the injury right now, I would say D Rose is having the best post career after the injury. D Rose can still give you 20 and 5 a night. Everybody wants to talk about what if with Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose is still putting up top point guard numbers. They say he's falling off because he's not the MVP type caliber, but he's playing better than a lot of these guys getting max contracts. So, no disrespect to Derrick Rose, but that's my list. Number 1, Grant Hill. 2, Penny Hardaway. 3, Derrick Rose.
All right, Freddie, we'll turn it to you. Need you to follow up. Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill, and Derrick Rose. Where do you rank these 3 among themselves, 1 through 3?
Oh, man, this one was actually pretty hard here. Chris put the pressure on the list tonight. Man, I'm going to go on Derrick Rose, the dude was supposed to be what Steph Curry is. This dude was supposed to be that point guard before the injury that was just going to explode. You had Russell Westbrook athletic ability, but this dude was just going to put on a show. And then, like Chris said, Grant Hill at the small forward position, was just crazy, especially back in the day. And I kind of agree with you on the Scottie Pippen thing. I'm kind of like right here.
It's a fact.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at that. Kind of makes sense. But Penny Hardaway, this dude. Hey, I had a pair of shoes back in the day. This dude right here, man. This dude was a baller. What him and Shaq was able to do with the Magic team. They beat Chicago. He was a baller, but he just wasn't Kobe D Wade. But yeah, I got Tim Hardaway. I got Penny Hardaway, my number 3.
All right, so you had Derrick Rose, Grant Hill, then Penny Hardaway 1 through 3. All righty.
All right.
Coach Cam, go ahead, bring us home.
Hey, 3 great players, man. Number 1, I do have Grant Hill. Grant Hill was a monster, man. If you really thought about it. When we talked about players after the Jordan era, people was talking about Grant Hill as the next one. He was supposed to take the. He was really supposed to take the throne. And you see LeBron numbers at like 28, 8, and 8. He didn't score as much, but that's what type of impact he had. You talking about the year before he got hurt in Orlando, and the year he set the contract, he was a 25, 7, and 7 type of guy. That's LeBron numbers, what we praise LeBron for. So Grant Hill for me is number 1, and for me, people forget, even after that, after the injuries. He started a career over in Phoenix and was a very viable piece when those playoff teams with Steve Nash, So, he resurrected his career, still able to finish with 16 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 6 assists for his career with the injury. So I got Grant Hill as number 1, man. He was supposed to take that throne. Number 2, I have Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose for me, man, was amazing. That's a kid that I watched in high school, and I remember as an Ohio guy, OJ Mayo played here in Cincinnati in North College Hill and won 2 straight titles. And I had an argument with my best friend. Like, we almost came to blows of fighting when I said this dude Derrick Rose is going to be better than him. And I seen it in high school. And you talk about, Russell Westbrook, the John Walls, the athleticism, the De'Aaron Fox. There's nothing like Derrick Rose was. He was the one that broke up really LeBron's MVP streak, the youngest MVP we ever seen. And for the fact that he has the knee injuries and come back, he's still a 20-point scorer. I got Derrick Rose number 2. And number 3 is no slight against him. Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway definitely changed the position. One of the people that changed the position. 6'7", point guard, could do it all. Could put the ball on the floor, can shoot the ball, can distribute. For me, the only reason why I have Penny Hardaway 3, and this will be it before we wrap it up, is because when Shaq left and he had to be the man, his body broke down. His body broke down where he was by himself, and that we never saw Penny really take the team and elevate it to new heights, and that's where I got him at 3.
I can't argue with that. That's where I was back and forth between 2 and 3 because, we got to see Derrick Rose really be Batman and carry his team, and we never got to see Penny Hardaway. But my thing was just, what if? And that's how we go. What if? And then that's my last statement to the night.
And honestly, whenever I'm looking at these 1 through 3, I was lined up perfectly with Coach Cam. I had Grant Hill at 1. Enough has been said about him. I mean, absolutely amazing player. Going on to Derrick Rose at number 2, this is a guy who's at least bounced back from his injury. This is a guy who came back and is balled, like we've said. He's coming out. He's being at 18 points up to 20 points a night, which is absolutely amazing. And, I mean, it's just great. We want to talk about a dog. I mean, the guy was the taken over the NBA at his age. I mean, he was coming in and just absolutely amazing whenever he first came in. A star-studded guy, took the league by storm, and then unfortunately for his injury, it just really got dealt the worst of hands whenever it came to it. But here's a guy who's come back and bounced back. He's shown that he can beat adversity. He's come out and he's coming back, not all the way to his dog days. He's not exactly the same player, but I tell you what, he is still putting up some really solid numbers, especially over the last 2 years. And number 3, I have Penny Hardaway. And whenever I was looking at it, Coach Cam, you had mentioned whenever Shaq had disappeared that he couldn't take over that team, really push it to the next level. And you're right. Whenever I was looking at it, I noticed a really big decrease in his stats all of a sudden. He went from a 20-point scorer to all of a sudden not even averaging 9 a game. And that's and then he, not only that, but he did it for a very long time. I mean, you want to talk about from the age of 26, I mean, he can significantly drop his points per game. And then farther on throughout his career from the age 29 on, I mean, I think he only had 2 seasons whenever he had averaged over 10 points a game. And it's just, yes, no disrespect to Penny Hardaway. I mean, he's done so much for the position. He's done so much for the NBA. And it's just one of those to where whenever I'm looking at it, I'm going to take Derrick Rose just because of the bounce back, just because he's shown that he, the player that he is, the dog that he has in him, and just to get a little bit above. So,
those injuries killed Penny Hardaway.
Man. I mean, really he had your ACL and the injuries before the technology, and
he rushed back. He always said he wouldn't wait till he got 100%. He was coming back at 70%.
Yeah,
with the injuries like that, you can't do that. But it's tough. It's very tough.
And that's where the difference maker comes in my list, just because we've seen, yes, I mean, obviously technology is different. Like Coach Cam said, he didn't have the same kind of advances that we have. An ACL injury is a lot more common now in 2020 than it was, back in the 90s. But, here we are with a lot more medical advances and everything such as that. And we've seen Derrick Rose sit out. And yes, it's taken time, but we've gotten back to, I would say, an image of what Derrick Rose was. We've gotten back to the old player that Derrick Rose is or could have been. He's definitely not playing up to the same level, but he's up there playing at a high level still. And it's just one of those to where if Penny Hardaway could have bounced back from those injuries, it could easily be a different story. But it's just one of those to where we didn't see that, unfortunately. So, but that brings us to the end of the topics tonight. We are at the end of Real Talk. So we've got a little bit of time left. If anybody has any closing statements, give everybody 30 seconds. Anybody have any closing thoughts?
I'm glad that the smart ones on this show put Grant Hill number 1. And that's no offense to Derrick Rose, but Grant Hill was about to take, and this is no disrespect to you, Freddie, and I'm just acknowledging Grant Hill was taking, the torch was his, like it was his. Like if Grant Hill didn't get injured, he's in his prime when LeBron is entering the league in the East with him, T-Mac, and listen, but
that's what I hate. I hated that we couldn't see T-Mac and Grant Hill play together in the 90s.
You're talking about Mike and
seen no dynamic in the wings, no dynamic duo in the wings like that since.
That's the biggest what if. That's
your Scotty and Mike. That would have been very close to it. Not necessarily all
not defensive, but offensive wise, you wouldn't be able to stop him.
Yeah.
But thank you everybody. Sorry to cut you off, Freddie, but I love doing it. Thank you everybody that supported us today. I see everybody in the comments. Like I said, keep commenting, keep liking the video, sharing the page, liking the page, and at the end of the month, we're giving out that Viewer of the Month T-shirt, and it could be yours for the new year.
Hey, we'll have two things. First off, tomorrow night, tune in to All Sports All Plays. We have the live fantasy NBA draft show at 8 p.m. Central. You would not want to miss that. And then I've been wanting to do this all show.
Disrespectful for you to say something like that.
You realize
you know what's coming.
Like it's sad because I'm not disrespecting nobody because I stand on what I say. So what I say about you,
you've been very disrespectful of this show today, Chris Brown.
Dude.
I wanted you in America to know that.
All right, Coach Cam, you have any final wrap-up words?
No, I'm excited about the draft tomorrow. Looking forward to another weekend of crazy sports and news, and be back Monday.
Man,
all right,
go Giants.
Oh God,
that's the East, man. That's crazy.
That is the face of a Packer fan right there.
Giant fan.
Giants. If Giants were wearing green and gold, you couldn't be more correct. I tell you what. But all right, folks. All right, that brings us to the end. What's up, Freddie? You want to defend yourself real quick?
No, Chris don't even know who his quarterback is this week. Let's go.
I know who my team is, though. You see, look, regardless, I know who my quarterback is, and I know who my team is. Who your quarterback? My quarterback is always going to be Carson Wentz.
No, he ain't started this week.
Freddie, we got Will end this out.
I don't know who my quarterback is either, and your quarterback's apparently Colt McCoy. So let's get out of here.
Exactly.
No, my quarterback's James.
Freddie,
your quarterback.
Hey, I got the worst. I got Brandon over here, so I'm out.
Your quarterback's Aaron Rodgers, and let's all accept it. So let's take off, everybody. Thank you again for joining us on ASAP Real Talk. We'll catch you guys on Monday. Y'all take it easy.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making the plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. Great eye in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the